All right, well, welcome back. I've stumbled upon a brand new bike project. This right here that I just have on the bike mount right now is a brand new Diamondback Viper BMX bike. Situation is my friend neighbor down the road, her son has I believe it's his 12th birthday coming up in a couple days, and his big ticket item that he wanted was a bike that could do some jumps and some ripping around the yard. And so she found this bike on Amazon on some incredible sale. It's like last year's model, and I don't know much about BMX, but I know Diamondback make a solid bike. I can tell you this thing is hefty, but it looks really solid. I really like the frame. It comes. So anyway, so I'm going to help out by just putting the rest of it together. I didn't know this was the situation until just really today. But there's not much to it. It comes pretty well put together. I believe, well, I don't know how much she actually has done, but I just put on the seat post just so I can mount it up. But it looks like it comes with a lot of stuff already done. Essentially what's left for me is to mount the handlebars, all right? And this bike happens to have a rear brake. It's got a V brake, a rear brake, a single, and that's this brake lever is already mounted. So all I really have to do is pull out the cable, and then rerun it through the housing, lock it in, and then it's really just a matter of mounting up the pedals and just to really give it a once over to make sure it's safe and gonna run well. I'm probably gonna give the chain a little bit of lube, make sure the tires are the rear wheel runs pretty true already. It's pretty good, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm gonna mount the front wheel into the fork, and yeah, that'd be pretty much it. So it's not a huge project, but it's something that shouldn't take me very long and should have a big benefit for them. So make sure it's safe, to make sure it's going to be fun for the long run. So let's do it. Okay, those are both good and tight for now. Really good, almost perfect headset play there. So now it's time to loosen up these headset bolts and mount the handlebars. So here we go. There's a little diagram here that shows the exact same style headset, and then it says start with the upper right, then you go to the start with the upper left, then you go to the lower right, then up, and then back. So it's the 4-bolt faceplate. Doesn't say anything about torques, but just tight. And so that's all there is to it. I thought it might be more complex than that, but it's not. But it's good to check. It's important to check. The hardware looks nice and strong, though, from what I've seen. They all have washers. So, should be a really good build. This should be a fun bike. Yeah. Yeah. That's just in my range of stretching down. Ah! See? And that was just out of my range of stretching down. So I'd let it go. And what happens is you end up getting smacked in the head. Okay, now this is relatively straightforward. I don't know the angle. Really don't know. I'm just going to make them pretty much in line with the fork. It looks good. It looks good. Again, I don't know the proper BMX angle, but that seems cool to me. I'll talk with the end user and see if he needs any adjustments. He lives half a mile down the road, so I'll be able to give him lifetime tune-ups, which is nice. All right, let's put on these pedals real quick. Some of the modern road or mountain bike pedals have on the inside of the pedal axle or on the outside of the pedal axle they have a spot for an Allen wrench, a hex key. Some of these slightly cheaper ones, they don't have that. So you just got to use the usually I think they're 15 mil, the diameter of this space here, and that's what you wrench onto. This should just pretty much be a standard righty-tighty on the right side. Again, tightening, for me, I just think about it, tighten pedals over the top forward to loosen them over the top backwards. I don't know. Forward tight, backwards loose. I don't know if there's not an acronym or anything. It's just how I remember it. And that's good and tight. Pedal ain't going anywhere. These have not the smoothest little bearing in there, but what are you gonna do? And that's good and tight. Okay. Pedals are on. Now, this brake, BMX brake, V brake lever. So I need to get this cable so that the housing hits this stop on the barrel adjuster here, but this end, this little end has to fit into this little slot here. It slots in and then it catches, but in order to do that, what you actually have to do, it seems odd when you buy a bike like this and a consumer wouldn't know, but it comes sort of semi-installed, but it's really not true because you actually have to release the brake cable, fish it out, and then feed it back through the housings because otherwise it can't go through the barrel adjuster here. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm pretty sure, right? Before I do that crazy, I'm pretty sure that I have to do that, right? There's no way that this can go into here and still get the housing. There's no way I can do that, right? How can I can't feed this through here. Yeah, no, it's gotta come out. It's like a brake tease. I think you got your brakes all set up, but in reality, you gotta do all these extra steps. Now, this is a totally unlubricated cable, and I'm going to take just I'm going to take a little finger full of grease, and I'm just going to lightly grease this cable so that it runs through the housing and it repels dirt. Repels water, attracts dirt, but it'll also slide through the housing a lot better, and that means you'll brake a lot better. Oh. Wait, what? What just happened there? Oh, dude, you know what? I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to do that. There is a little channel here. Damn. I didn't have to do that. That was completely unnecessary. This brake has an actual channel here that I could have just fed it up and through. Did not know that. I did not realize that. I never would have known that. Now that I feel foolish, I feel really foolish. I'm going to show how foolish I am. At least I took it out and I threaded, and at least I greased it. You know what? I'm going to thread this back through, and then I'll show you how dumb that was. I had no idea that that was open on there. I didn't even check. I never thought it would have been like that. That's so funny. Well, anyway. I'm not an expert. I just do this for fun, and I learn every time I do something like this. So, all right. No harm, no foul, right? I can't believe that. But anyway, at least it all worked out. This is back. This is threaded back through fine. I can't believe I had no idea there was a channel there. Now I'm pretty certain. And I'm not going to bolt that down because now at least I'll have the play. So this should have, the housing should have been designed. See, this makes it so much easier. Now it makes sense. Because I didn't have to worry about that because it slides right in. Okay, so all you have to do is make sure that has caught, and now it's that little blunt end is on the stop there. You can mess with the cable barrel adjuster, and that gives that barrel adjuster a little bit of play to go in or out with the brake cable. So I learned something. I didn't have to disengage that because this brake lever has a channel for the cable to go through. I never would have guessed. All right, Now the good thing is that these brake pads are pretty well mounted, but they're not perfect. The right side is perfect. The left side needs a little adjustment. So I'm just going to adjust this brake pad so that it hits the rim in the ideal spot. The way you do this is hold you hold the pads, you hold the brake arms up against the rim so that they would engage at the same exact time, and it's not going to touch the tire. And I'm going to err on the side of caution by mounting it slightly lowish, because this is not the truest wheel in the world. But that's going to do the job. It's going to be perfect. Okay, now to set the tension for the brake cable, what I want to do is I want to hold the brakes. I want to hold the brakes onto the rim tight, and then I'm going to pull the cable, and then I'm just going to back it off just a little bit. Release the arms just that little bit. And there's a little bit of trial and error here as well. It was actually clamped at a pretty good spot. I'm not going to hate on these guys. They did a good job clamping it down. So right off the bat, that's pretty good. All right, so I just want to show you what's happening with this brake, because it is pretty interesting with this V brake setup. So the way it works is you've got this cable that's bolted, it's clamped in place here, right? And then you've got this apparatus is called the noodle, and it's pretty cool because what you can do is if you pinch that, then you can release the brake, so it's easy to take the wheel off the bike. Not so important for a BMX bike. But what's interesting here is when I apply the brake, its tension is pretty good, but when this side clamps down on the rim and I release, it's got a relatively, I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's got a relatively large gap to the tire, whereas the right side is much closer and it's actually giving a little bit of rub. So I just want to, and the way you can fix this is these two screws on either side, they adjust the spring tension on these arms, so I can move them around just a little bit, and that's what I'm gonna do now, and that should be the last bit for these brakes. So I'm gonna clip this extra. I'm gonna trim like an inch and a half, 2 inches off this cable, not a ton, but just enough. To cut bike cable, it really helps to have a pair of bike cable cutters. Oddly enough, and I'm not sure why, but because the way they clamp is they clamp down onto, it's not like a pair of like snips, which you could use to cut cable, but I don't know why, but this is a perfect cut for this type of cable. So I'm just gonna pull off what amounts to like an inch and a half. Makes a really nice cut. And then in order to crimp this down, this is just a little end cap. There's a couple of crimping sections here, so I hold the cap with the crimping section, just a little bit of tension holds it on there, and then I'm going to just slide it over the cable, and once it's fully in there, then I just squeeze hard as, crimp it down, boom, done. Looking good. Okay. Front wheel. 20 by 2.125. These are sweet tires. 35 PSI. Let me just... God damn, this bike is... Oh my god. Dude, that's heavy as. I've never messed around on BMXs. It's actually pretty cool. Actually feels pretty cool. Yeah, I gotta put air in these tires. But I want to make sure this is seated before I tighten this too much. Oh, it's gonna be a super fun bike. Everything's good on it. Great swivel on the headset, nothing loose on there. Super tight handlebars. Brakes are in perfect condition. You got your little chain guard. It's a sweet little rig. There's two reflectors. There's a red and a white. So white for front, red for rear. But where does it go? It's got a really small. Where does this thing go? Where is it supposed to go? Where does this thing mount? And where does this thing mount? I mean, I can see that on the seat post. I can see that. Fair enough. That should be pretty easy to. It's not like. Well, let me see. Where does the document say? Well, I could put the rear reflector on. Drop this down. Inflate the tires. Put the rear reflector on. I don't know where that front is supposed to go on the bike. This front reflector is supposed to be mounted like this or like this, but there's no part of this bike where this would mount and look elegant and have the right angle to face forward. So I call BS on this reflector. A bike for a 12-year-old is supposed to get messed up. That's what it's designed for. It's supposed to be abused. Headset's good and solid. Brakes are solid. I just got to put air in these tires and be on the way.